Bert, what would you like the Patriots to do with their third overall pick? Use it, stay where they are, see what falls to them, trade back, or maybe even trade up?
I would say quarterback. If you stay there, trade down if not. And I know, again, that sounds big, but I go back to what I was just saying about the Bills identifying Josh Allen and going up and getting him. The Chiefs identifying Patrick Mahomes and going up and getting him. I think one way or the other, because I think Caleb Williams will be a Bear. Like one way or the other, you have to determine whether or not Drake May or Jaden Daniels is that guy. And if he is, you take him if he falls to you and you figure out the rest later. If not, I think there's going to be such a market for those top three picks that it's probably in your best interest to move the pick, especially when you've got a huge tackle need, and there should be really good tackles available through the top half of the first round. You'll still be able to address that need. There are good receivers, and I love Marvin, but Rome Odunze is considered like a legitimate top 10 type of receiver, right? Malik Neighbors from LSU, same thing. So I think they've got so many holes in the team that if it's not a quarterback at 3, then it'd behoove you to move down. But, again, if the quarterback is there, like if there's a guy that you see as the guy, and like it's hard to identify them. But if you identify guy as the guy, then you take him there.
If you value that pick so much and you think that there's going to be a team that wants that quarterback at 3, what kind of return do you think you could potentially get? Like you say, okay, there's going to get a great tackle in the first half. Do you think it two picks in the top 10?
Look at the history. Look at the history of it. So I mean, like the Dolphins had the third pick in 2021. Got 3 first rounders from the Niners. Would that be worth it for you? So now you got still a pick in the top 12, and you've got multiple first round picks in 25 and 26. I mean, that's the sort of thing you're talking about, and that's the sort of thing that can set your franchise up for a long time to come. I mean, look, like it doesn't even need to be using those picks. The Dolphins wound up going down to 12, come up and get Jalen Waddle, and then they trade one of the picks for Bradley Chubb, and there was another one too, and I'm blanking on it now, Tyreek Hill. Yeah. So they wind up with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Bradley Chubb, which only one of those players is a rookie, right? But they wind up with those 3 picks for that haul. So, I mean, I absolutely think that. I absolutely think you look at it and you can say to yourself, that the idea of trading down, unless it's a quarterback that is on that level, is a smart thing to do.
Oh.
What? And I know people here aren't going to like it because it's shades of Belichick,
nope, they're not.
right?
And
it's shades of Belichick.
Exactly. Trade down, and you got a premier pick, and it's a fan base that isn't patient with a 3-year rebuild.
Who are they moving down with? Who's the trade partner there? If you trade back.
So hold on, let me pull it up. But here's why I think the pick's going to be worth a lot. I think the Bears are going to stick and pick a quarterback. I think the Commanders are going to stick and pick a quarterback, and I think there's a gap between the top 3 guys and the rest of the class.
It's a 3 quarterback
so you're sort
draft.
You're sort of the last. Now it depends on how you see J.J. McCarthy, and but I think he's in that grouping with Bo Nix and Michael Penix, which I think there's a drop off. And so there are teams that are in that. Does somebody have the draft order?
Yeah. I mean, so, teams that could be looking at Arizona at 4, Tennessee at 7, Atlanta at 8,
Minnesota at 11. Do they want to move up out of 11 to get to 3?
I think that they would look at it.
Let's use Minnesota as
the
example.
Here's the trouble with Minnesota, though.
Oh, trouble.
So the trouble with Minnesota is they might want to do it soon. If they make the decision, all right, we're negotiating with Kirk Cousins, maybe we can't get him done, then if you're Minnesota, you kind of want to go into free agency with some certainty over what we want to know what the landscape is now going forward, and we don't want to, are we looking at, signing, someone like, I don't know, Taylor Heineke, or do we need a starter, right? You want to know that before you're going into free agency, so if you're Minnesota and you can get the parameters of a deal in place to move up to 3 before free agency, now you know what you're dealing with. So
What's the price to go from 3 to 11?
Well, that's almost the same spot as the Dolphins thing. So, I mean, you start out by asking for their first rounders in 25 and 26. Now, that's with the knowledge that the Vikings are a pretty good team, right? And
this place will jump all over that.
Huh?
This place will jump all over
if
that.
You do that?
Two first-round picks plus more.
People are going to be pissed if they do it right now, but they'll be more pissed if all of a sudden Minnesota moves up to 3 and gets a franchise quarterback that you then have to watch for the next 15 years.
Right. And
that'll make it even worse.
But that's the whole thing is you have to determine if he's that guy. If Jaden Daniels is that guy, you don't move. And the other problem with it is you don't know what Washington's going to do. So I think Drake May and Jaden Daniels are now close enough where I think there's going to be some split over who likes who. And so you don't know what the Commanders are going to do. So maybe you like Jaden Daniels. How do you know the Commanders aren't taking him?
You don't.
Right.
You have no way of knowing.
Right. So that's part of the problem too with trading the pick early.
That you could trade out and your guy could be
and
there.
You might be able
if
you trade that pick on March 5th, you might be able to get a premium for it. Because you're saying, okay, like, well, if you're asking me to move this pick now and not let things play out, well, then you got to give me a little extra. And maybe another team's willing to do that. It's sort of tricky that way because, you do not know who's going to be available, whether it's going to be – you may like one of the two, but you have no assurances that one is going to fall to you.